Okay, so I know that it's January, which it's a little bit ways until Christmas. In fact, most of us are still recovering from Christmas. Well, in this video, I am going to share a way so that next Christmas you won't have to deal with the stress and the worry and the bother that we're probably all dealing with right now. Before I go any further, my name is DL. I am a certified financial counselor, and I am just sharing tips and tricks on personal finance and how to just achieve financial wellness. Apologize for the hotel room in the background. I'm actually currently on a business trip, but I had a couple minutes away from the kid and away from the husband, so I thought that I would pop on and film this video really fast. Also, if you see me looking in this direction, I'm just going to be referencing my notes because I have a tendency to kind of wander off, get sidetracked, and forget what I'm talking about and go off on tangents. So like I said, I am a certified financial counselor, and just a quick disclaimer, this video is just for informational purposes only. It does not establish a client-professional relationship, and so anything that I share in here is just for informational purposes and for you to use at your own discretion. All right, so let's get into it. I talked about how I was going to share a little bit about how to make Christmas shopping a little bit less stressful. Well, how in the world can we do that? I'm not talking about cutting the budget, only buying a few things here and there for each of your kids. I'm not going to come in here and I'm not going to tell you that you have to change what you're buying or cut down the budget. No, the way that I'm talking about it is actually still being able to get what you want to get for your kids and for your husband and for your best friend and your siblings and your parents and excuse me, without breaking the bank. So the way that I like to do this and the way that I like to kind of illustrate this is with a saying that I've heard. I'm not sure where it comes from, but it's something my grandpa's always told me, and it's, how do you eat an elephant? You eat it one bite at a time. And that's kind of similar to this whole concept with buying for Christmas. Typically, a lot of us spend a lot of money on Christmas, and by the time the season's over, we're paying off our credit cards and we're recovering from what we spent, or we've depleted our savings. I know that in the past I have done that too, and in fact I did that a little bit this year. So actually I ended up dedicating an entire paycheck to Christmas because we hadn't planned well enough in advance. But the best way to plan for it, I have found, is to do exactly that, to plan for it. And then by the time Christmas rolls around, you've already got the money set aside and you can go shopping as you'd like. Now, here's how the game plan works that I found works best. Sorry about that interruption. My alarm went off and interrupted the video. Okay, so we're talking about step one, making a list. So you'll hear me talk a lot about lists because lists really are the key to helping keep you organized and keep your game plan working. So what list are we making? Well, we're making a list of everyone that you normally shop for. So think about this last year. In fact, this is a perfect time to make this list because Christmas just ended. So think about last year, or this most recent Christmas. Who did you shop for? Write down a list of everyone: your brother, your sister, your dog, your aunt, your uncle, even your kids. And then next to those names, put about a general dollar amount that you have spent on them traditionally or that you would like to spend on them. Now, you can put whatever you want in here. Again, this isn't the spot where you're supposed to say, oh, I'm going to cut back and slash my budget. Be realistic here. And when Christmas comes up, how much do you typically like to spend on each of these individuals? So once you've done that, you've got the individual and you've got the dollar amount next to them. There's always a category I like to plan for, which is unexpected. There's always that unexpected get together at someone's house where you're expected to bring a secret Santa gift, or maybe there's an opportunity to help a family in need or something. So always leave an unexpected category and put how much in there that you'd like to spend unexpected. So now that you've got that list, the next part of actually implementing it comes throughout the rest of the year. So this is where step 2 comes in, and we need to set aside some money throughout the year, and from paycheck to paycheck, set aside a certain chunk for each. Well, how much do you know to set aside? Well, the first thing you do is you take that list that you just made, you total up all of the expenses that are next to the name, and then you get your total amount that you're going to be spending, for Christmas on all of these different categories. Then you break that up by how many paychecks you have in the year. Now, typically, if you're paid bi-weekly or every 2 weeks, you're going to have about 26 paychecks in a year. Now, if you're starting in the middle of the year, just subtract how many paychecks you've already had up to this point, and just count how many you have left until Christmas. If you want to do it monthly, if that's how you prefer to budget, then count up monthly, or weekly if that's also how you prefer to budget. Just however often you get paid or you budget and set money aside, divide that by the number of paychecks you have left or months you have left per se. So at this point in the video, it's the beginning of January, so I'm just going to say we've got 26 paychecks left. So you just divide that number by 26. That'll give you the total dollar amount that you need to put aside every paycheck. And I think when I did my math, mine only is going to come out to like $25 a paycheck that we need to be putting aside to save up for Christmas and for all the money we spend on everyone. $25 is a whole lot easier than $500, right? Or $1,000, or however much you always spend on Christmas. After you've done all your math, you need to then figure out how you're going to set it aside every month. I prefer the envelope method. It's a very common method that a couple of experts like to talk about, but for me, it really works. You can use envelopes in different ways. You can set aside a separate checking or savings account within your current bank account that you put it in. I prefer physical, actual envelopes and cash that I put in there so that it's not hooked to my card. I'm not tempted to use it. I leave it at home and I don't touch it. But every paycheck, I take that set amount of money and I stick it in the envelope, and it is physically, actually set aside, and then it starts to accumulate throughout the year. Step 3 is make sure that you're always consistent with it. Do not budge from the number, because what you find is if you have a paycheck like, oh man, I'd rather have this thing happen, or I'd rather have that thing happen, and it wasn't quite consistent with my money, so I went a few paychecks without contributing anything. That's really going to throw the plan off, and it's going to be throwing your total off. So you're going to want to make sure to stay as consistent as possible with it. That set amount every paycheck, don't deviate. Put that aside before you plan for other things, before you do anything else. Number 4 is so you get to Christmas time, and now you have that large sum total in your envelope, ready to spend, stress-free, without interfering with anything else, right? This is awesome. It's a good feeling. You don't have to worry about recovering from Christmas. You don't have to worry about replenishing your savings. You haven't depleted anything. You didn't just spend a whole paycheck on Christmas savings. You didn't max out your credit card. You've got it all ready to go. The cash is there, and all you need to do now is just spend it, which is a whole nother stressful element to Christmas. All right, so step 4 is keep doing it. So don't stop just because you've hit Christmas, because what do we need to do now? We need to do it for a year again until next Christmas, and just keep it going and be consistent with it over time. So this is really the 4 steps that I've used and found to be successful in making Christmas shopping less stressful. And you know what? This can happen with any big event that's either a one-time event, like for example, maybe you have a wedding coming up, then figure out the date and break it down and set aside a small chunk every time. Maybe an anniversary you're doing every year and you want to save up. That's actually what my husband and I do for our anniversary, is we set chunks aside every paycheck to contribute to that. Or any event. It doesn't have to be Christmas, but any large event that's either regularly occurring or maybe occurring one time, or even both, this process will work. So I'm hoping that you're finding these tips useful. If you do like what you're seeing, please like and subscribe to my channel, where I share more personal tips on personal wellness, or not personal wellness, goodness gracious, financial wellness and personal finance, in order to help you, develop a better mindset about your money, so it's not stressful and you kind of feel like you actually are in the groove and know what you're doing. If you want to reach out to me, I am a financial coach and I offer financial coaching services. I will put my contact information in the description of this video. In my next video, I'm going to be talking about discipline. So you made your budget, and sometimes you stick to it, sometimes you don't. Well, how do I actually stick to my budget? How do I develop the discipline to make my budget work? Well, stay tuned, because in my next video, that's exactly what we're going to be talking about, is how to find some discipline and how to actually implement the budget that you've made and how to stick to it. So I hope to see you next time, but in the meantime, thanks for watching this video and have a good day.